Raider! Raiders Fan Radio. You're listening to Sonny and Murf from the Dago Dungeon. That's right, a podcast by Raiders fans, for Raiders fans, the only fans that matter.
Touchdown! Kenny Stabler goes all the way!
We miss you, we love you, and we'll see you in the Hall of Fame.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing. Just win, baby. I love this team. I think this team can win.
Well, we will certainly find out soon enough whether this team can win, Al, as your kid has brought back John Gruden. That's right, John Gruden's return to the Raiders, and we will celebrate that plenty here on the upcoming episode of Raiders Fan Radio. I will be your host for today. My name is Murf. Thank you for joining us here on Raiders Fan Radio. And those of you that are familiar with the show, I'm sure you're saying, Murf, what happened to Sonny? Sonny's usually the guy that starts this thing off. Well, you're absolutely right. So take care of just a little bit of housekeeping here on Raiders Fan Radio just to get you guys up to speed on what's going on. Sonny is going to step away from the show for a little bit. He's not going to be gone forever, but for those of you that don't know, he is a drug and alcohol addictions counselor, mainly working with adolescents, a lot of underprivileged kids. He's really doing the Lord's work, and he's got some opportunities with the company that he works with, and he's got an opportunity to really outreach and get to a lot of kids, and so he's doing that, and his focus is going to remain on that for the next little bit. And of course, Sonny has a young family at home as well. So with those two things combined, he's going to step away from Raiders Fan Radio during the offseason. We'll probably get him back around the draft, maybe a little bit post that, or maybe get him back for the draft and then have another little break before he comes back to join us full time. But fear not, the guy's still a diehard Raiders fan. He still loves Raiders Fan Radio here and loves you all and interacting with you all, but just needs to step away for life for a little bit. So we congratulate him on his venture in his day job. And in the meantime, you get Murf. You get your old buddy Murf here. We're going to continue on with the show. I'm not much into podcast selfies, so we're definitely gonna keep this thing going. And it's not just gonna be me. We're gonna feature a lot of good friends of the show. Different writers, different guests that you've heard before, and also some new ones upcoming. So we're gonna keep this thing rolling. We're gonna keep Raiders Fan Radio rolling. I don't golf. I don't work on cars. I don't woodwork. I have a podcast studio, and I love the Raiders. So this is kind of my hobby. So this is gonna keep on going. And so anyway, so thank you obviously to Sonny for everything that he's done for the show, and we'll thank him for what he's going to do in the future. But in the meantime, you're going to get me, and you're going to get a plethora of guests that are going to come through. So today we do have our first guest with us, and so we're going to take a little break. We're going to listen to Uncle Mosh tell us where you can find out about Raiders Fan Radio, and we'll be back in just a sec.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Uncle Mosh. That's right. Somebody actually claims Sonny and Murf. These two. Check them out on their website, RaidersFanRadio.com. You can friend them on Facebook at Raiders Fan Radio, or you can like their fan page at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Hey, I don't tweet. I don't even know how to use a Twitter, but they do. You can tweet them at Raiders Fan Radio. Call them. Leave a voicemail if you want. Go old school. 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Hey, do this. Please subscribe and rate Raiders Fan Radio on iTunes. You can listen to the show on all podcast services like Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, and many, many more. Okay, am I done? Did I say all the stuff I was supposed to say? All right, I'm out of here.
All right, Raider Nation, as I mentioned, we have our first guest joining us here on episode, I guess I forgot to say the episode number 68. Well, see, you lose one co-host and the whole thing goes to heck. Episode number 68 here in Raiders Fan Radio, and our first guest, we'd like to welcome into the show, Raider Jeff, owner, proprietor, founder, proponent of DeadPiratSports.com. Welcome to the show, Raider Jeff Haskins.
Murf, hey, I just want to add something. I think it's really cool what Sonny's doing, but I don't think that's the case. I think he got that captain I sent him, and he's running around naked with that captain up in Washington somewhere. And he got in trouble for doing it.
So Jeff was we had made a joke when we first started talking to Jeff and getting familiar with his stuff. We made a joke about the caftans, and Uncle Mark just got a huge kick about Uncle Mosh got a huge kick about the caftans and the kimonos that you could get with all the Raider gear on it. And so Jeff was kind enough to send us some caftans. So, which is probably a picture that Raider Nation doesn't want to see, Jeff, but we are appreciative of the gift nonetheless.
I don't think we want to see that, you two guys, running around in a captain.
And Uncle Mosh he would probably do it. If we asked him to wear the captain, he would probably do it and we could plaster that all over our social media. It'd be funny.
Well, that might not be a bad idea.
How'd you like to use that for one of your promos, Jeff? Well, thank you again for joining us here on Raiders Fan Radio. So tell us a little bit about what's going on in the world of deadpiratesports.com. Tell us about any promotions, anything that you got going on over there.
Well, we got some really cool stuff going. We start the Captain Darkside Treasure Chest fan boxes. Those are going really well. They're real cool. There's 3 affordable sizes, small, medium, and large. There's a size for the kids and for infants. And the collection boxes are really what's going off the map. An authentic, certified piece of Raider autograph memorabilia. And I also added the Super Fan box and the Mega Fan box. So what that is that in the Super Fan box you get 2 pieces. In the Mega Fan box you get 3 pieces. So you get a lot of really cool, authentic autograph merchandise from Raider players. Plus a lot of really cool Raider gear. So it makes it, a nice gift idea, or just something if you want to spoil yourself a little bit. So it makes it pretty cool that way. But one box somewhere along the way is going to have a gold coin. If you find a gold coin in your box, you get a lot of free Raider gear. Also, when you buy a box, you're automatically entered for special giveaways, contests, things like that to win more gear. And the other cool thing is that every week, every month, you're going to get updated Raider information from yours truly, RaidersFanRadio.com. Sonny and Murf's going to be right in there, along with a few others. So that comes right to your email free of charge. It's an added perk that you get. So that's not a bad deal. We're also getting ready to launch a new line of shoes. You can watch for those to come up. There's going to be 7 different styles that you can choose from, and those will be launched on March 1st. And then just besides having the best prices on Raider gear on the internet, we're sitting about 500 items now, and we're going to grow from that. It's probably the most affordable site now.
Very cool. I saw some of those kicks that you had on the website. I think I saw them on Instagram. They look pretty cool. They got Raider logos on them and stuff. And skulls and everything. Those are sweet.
Yeah. There's we're getting into some of the licensing stuff. So a lot of the new shirts we got up are kind of test markets to see how they sell, see how people like them. And then we'll actually get all of them officially licensed. So that's another thing we're getting into is, more of that end of, Dead Pirate apparel that'll have all kinds of neat, new stuff in it that you probably never seen before.
So that's pretty cool. So Jeff, you're down in there in the southwest section of the United States. You're not far from Vegas, right? So what's it been like? You've been a long-time Raider fan. We've had you on the show before. And if you've missed Jeff last time he was on with us, definitely go back and check it out. He gives a great history and recount of kind of his life coming up as a Raider fan and how he got into the business of Dead Pirate. And so down there where you're at now, and considering your history as a fan, what's it been like? What's the response been like down there for the people in your area with the Raiders coming to town in a couple of years?
It's been awesome. Let me tell you, the sales have increased dramatically, coming out of Vegas, and it's new fans as well as old fans. So people are pretty, getting pretty fired up. We're a ways away from Vegas, so we don't get up there as much as we'd like to. We're down in, I'm 50 miles from the Mexican border. So, in Tucson.
You're a lot closer to Vegas than I am.
That's right. And the other thing is that, while we're talking here, I'm outside in flip-flops, shorts, and a T-shirt in 70-degree weather.
Oh, my goodness.
Why the rest of you are all freezing and digging out of snow. I get a lot of calls from, from people up there that are really excited about it. I talked to a lot of the other fans around the country who, everybody has their own opinions about, how they feel about the move, and just an overall, I'm so negative, I'm so pissed off, and then people are I'm so excited. So you get a lot of variance in people's emotions. Let me tell you what, man, if you've never been to Vegas, that place is buzzing with Raider stuff, and just the whole Raider, just the atmosphere. It's going to be really exciting to see what happens. How the fans grow and react and come out of the woodwork. And, all of us old school fans, we understand that once a Raider, always a Raider. And we've been through it before. We've been through the move from Oakland to L.A. and then from L.A. back to Oakland and now Oakland to Las Vegas. But the consensus is that we don't care if they play on the move. And we're Raider fans. We'll build us a damn spaceship and get up there to watch you play and support our team. So, we're there, baby. No matter what it is. It's exciting, to watch what's going on there and see, all the pictures that are being taken and things like that. So it's a pretty cool atmosphere, but at the same time, it's a sad one as well.
Yeah, it's definitely been bittersweet. I think that's kind of been the sentiment of most everybody's, regardless of where you live or regardless of where you grew up or, earned your stripes as a Raider fan. Everybody kind of feels that they should be in Oakland, but if they're not going to be there, then, Vegas is better than a lot of other places, that it could be. And so why not? That's been a sentiment, is that it's definitely bittersweet. If any of us had our pick, we'd want them to stay where they're at, but we can't control that, right? So let me ask you this. So you mentioned that a lot of the orders have come in from Vegas. I also noticed that you've had a lot of Chucky related stuff on the site. So how much of has John Gruden's return, which, I mentioned in the intro and we're going to get to a lot later in the show, but how much is that return meant for sales? Are you selling a bunch of Chucky gear, like shirts and stuff, or what?
Yeah, the Chucky gear's going pretty good. Heck, you can buy a Chucky mask, you can buy Chucky necklaces, the whole bit, some shirts. I always knew he'd be back because of how everything was left with Al. Just up in the morning, that you've been traded. That's got to piss a guy off, and it's got to have a little bit of you got to have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder and a little bit of fire in your belly to come back and just tear it up. But because you got a lot of attitude with Gruden, you put Carr and Lynch in that mix, and man, it's going to be fun to watch this year. And I'm sure the play calling is going to be a heck of a lot better.
We would certainly hope so. Considering all things considered, from where we were to where we're going to go, what we can expect from John, we certainly would think that our offense will be not only a complete different look, but as you mentioned, the calling will be much better, taking advantage of the talent that we have on the football team. We're not trying to wedge them into some scheme that clearly doesn't work. So Jeff, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to do some voicemails. I see something else Sonny always does. He gives the rundown of what the show is. So talk to Jeff, then we're going to do some voicemails, and then I got some Greg Papa stuff at the end that we're going to play, kind of, again, really detailing the Gruden thing, and we'll get into that at the end. But before we move on to get to the voicemails, Jeff, I wanted to ask you that one of the big story, I guess, of the offseason, aside from Gruden, has been Janikowski getting let go. What are your thoughts there as far as Seabass going? That's when he's been an institution for the Raiders for, since 2000, right? When Al drafted him. So what do you think about that? About the Raiders letting him loose?
Yeah, it's another one of those bittersweet kind of things. Jano, hopefully is going to be in the Hall of Fame, and he should be by every means of the book. But yeah, looking at Jano and not seeing Bass go out there, it's kind of sad, but you got to think as players as a product. And if if I have a product that's not selling or is getting old, then I gotta get something new. And man, I just think he could have pounded out another couple of years, and it's sad to see him go. You got to sit down and cry. But Jano is always going to be a Raider. He's going to be in Raider Nation's heart, and he's part of the face of the franchise. So he's always going to have that part in every Raider fan's heart, that they're always going to, love him and miss him and admire what he's done for us.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely, I think that's the sentiment, that it's bittersweet. At a certain point, you get to a certain age and your contract outweighs your on-field value. What happened with Leckler And especially when you have young talent coming up behind you. It happened with Leckler, with Marquette King coming up behind him, and now with Seabass and, of course, Giorgio Tavecchio coming up behind him. So, yeah, definitely bittersweet. But, I got a feeling we might see more. We're just getting into the beginning of this, and we'll see how the draft goes. And we had Corcoran on last week, and, of course, and he talked about not only the draft, but, the free agent needs, and they are many for this Raider team. So I think we're going to see a lot of change going on, which we're not strangers to seeing change as Raider Nation, but this time I think there's a little additional excitement that comes along with it because we do have the Gruden factor to go along with it. So we know things are going to certainly uptick, and then with also the changes going on in the division, right? Marcus Peters getting traded, like all of a sudden the Raiders could possibly be a favorite here early in the offseason. Long ways away, but can go. But all right, well, Jeff, listen, we're gonna have you hang on with us here. So we're thank you again for joining us here on the show. Jeff's gonna hang with us through the next segment, which we call the Sea of Fans mailbag. So we're gonna get to you some of your voicemails here right away.
He is fading, looking. He's under the gun. He's caught. He throws. It is. Oh, he caught
it. All right. First up, we have a very familiar caller to the show. We have a made man up there in Yakima, Washington, and we're talking about our buddy Red, and we're going to play his voicemail for you right now.
Sonny Murf, Red up here in Yakima. Thought I'd call in, touch bases with you guys. I don't know if you guys have heard about the report that where the league is supposedly asking us to sign Kaepernick and do them a favor, so they'll drop the collusion case, and supposedly they helped us out with the Rooney Rule investigation. It was just a bunch of bull.
Elway.
And you guys see Derek over there in Florida tearing it up, setting new skill records, and now he's a Guinness World Record holder. He looks healthy now. Man, I can't wait till next year. But keep up the good work, guys. Go Raiders.
Jeff, what do you think? Red talks about a couple things there. One is he talks about the Raiders potentially signing Kaepernick, and then the other was he talks about Derek Carr, and he was referencing calls from a little bit ago. He's referencing his performance in the skills competition at the Pro Bowl. What do you think about those two things? What do you think about them signing Cap as a backup, and how Derek's looked so far this offseason?
Well, I think with Cap, I don't think that it comes down to, do us as a favor kind of thing, because that's just not the way it works. I think that when it comes to a backup quarterback, no matter who it is, Gruden and Reggie and the staff's going to take a look at the actual player and not by what he's done off the field or what the NFL says. Because if they say, well, we did you a favor with the Rooney Rule, well, they really didn't. That's what they signed, and they bring Cap in. You bet your ass. I'll be right behind him the whole entire way. I'll support him. But I don't think it's going to boil down to just having him come on because his name is Kaepernick and the NFL did us a favor. I think it comes down to pure talent and the responsibility and how he fits into the team. As far as Carr, he looks a lot sharper. He's moving a lot faster. And, some of the problems we had last year could have been, attributed to his back. Yeah, taking a look at what he did. That's our quarterback, baby. That's what that boy can do. And under Gruden's going to push, and we're going to have a contest. I'm sure they're going to have a contest who gets that office by 3 o'clock in the morning first. If it's going to be Gruden or Carr. Gruden's a beast, man. He'll push Carr to the limit. Carr will push right back. And that's exactly what he needs. I
couldn't agree with you more on Carr. And and on the Kaepernick thing, too. I think that's, sometimes we as Raider Nation are guilty of fan-generated theories that catch traction, whether that's Calvin Johnson coming to the Raiders or, things like this Kaepernick thing. I think that things, and I guess it happens in all forms of media, but we as Raider Nation, I guess just because I'm in it all the time, reading Raider news and reading, fan posts and everything, I think we kind of do this to ourselves. So, there's no truth to that. There's not anything. It's not that big of a conspiracy going on behind the scenes that the Raiders would do something like this. Now, was there there ever any talk of them exploring him as an option as a backup quarterback? I'm sure there was. I'm sure that there was for 32 NFL teams. I mean, the guy was a quarterback that played in the Super Bowl. I mean, so, just like they were talking to Trent Dilfer at what point, they would talk to Colin Kaepernick as well. You have guys that, regardless of the other issues, it's all performance based, like you said. So they're going to talk to him for one way or the other. And, so that wouldn't surprise me. But is there some mandate or some agreed upon thing between the Raiders and the NFL? They're going to sign him? No, absolutely not. And so, then to move on to Derek Carr, I'm with you, man. That's our guy. And he looks great. And not only, the things that Red referenced in that were going on in the skills competition and in the Pro Bowl, but also, I don't know if you had a chance to catch this inside the huddle that he and his brother David did for the Valley Children's Hospital in Fresno. But they did basically, it was like a day skills camp kind of thing for kids and whatnot. And they also had an interview portion where the two of them were on stage, and of course Raider Nation dominated the crowd. But they were there to talk a little bit about Fresno State football, and then also to talk about the Raiders. And Derek was pretty forthcoming. He was pretty forthcoming about not only his injuries, but he was forthcoming about the coaching staff last year. And he was very forthcoming about what it's going to be like working with Gruden. And his words, he says, look, I've been called an MRFer plenty of times. He's like, if this guy's going to challenge me, that's good. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but he's basically ready and willing to take on this challenge. And so, like you reference, that competitiveness of, okay, who's going to be in the building first? Like, don't you love that? Like, that's what builds winners. That's what builds championship teams, is that who's going to outdo each other so you can work the hardest? Like, are you kidding? Like, that's a beautiful sentiment, right?
Absolutely. Even if it's between the coach and the player. I mean, I've played ball all my life, and in multiple sports, and if I didn't have a coach that was pushed me, man, I wanted out. I didn't want to have nothing to do with him. I wanted not only to compete against my fellow players and my teammates, but I also wanted my coach to challenge me. And Derek Carr's the same way like that, man. They're going to challenge each other. You bet your butt they're going to, man. They're going to turn it up.
All right, next up, Jeff, we're going to go to a caller we got. He didn't leave his name. It's a caller from the 556 area code. And a few shows ago, I think it was episode 64. It was myself and Sonny. We had Uncle Mark, Uncle Mosh. I'll tell that story one day too, by the way, how he got that nickname. But we had Uncle Mosh live in the studio here, and we talked. It was just prior to the Super Bowl, and we talked a lot about the Patriots, and we were unapologetically supportive of watching Tom Brady do something that we've never seen anybody else do, and that would have been win his sixth Super Bowl. And we expected some backlash, Jeff, and we got it. Okay, Now, we knew going in that wasn't going to be a popular opinion with Raider Nation, and I don't think anybody questions our fandom, but they did question how we could arrive at those kind of conclusions and have those opinions about that, and they're welcome. We're not Skip Bayless. We're not going to make crazy statements and then pretend like we never made them. We're going to own them, and so and so this caller definitely calls us out on a few things, and so in all fairness, I want to play this and get your feedback on it as well. So here we go.
Hello, Sonny and Murf. Thanks for the job you guys do. Like listening to your podcast. Just happened to have a disagreement with you for your podcast number 64. One, you don't have to think the Patriots are rival not to like them. The reason I don't like the Patriots is they cheat. They've been caught multiple times and never really paid for their stuff. How can I give Brady to be the all-time great quarterback? I can't. Too many times where he's cheated, too many times where teams cheated. It's just their whole legacy is scarred. And if you're a sports fan, you say that you're for your kids and so forth. How can you have the Patriots as a team you can look up to with all the things they've done wrong? Don't give me this crap that he's so great because he's had 8 Super Bowls. He's not great when you cheat to get those 8 Super Bowls. He's not great when their team does things. How can you have your kids listen to them and follow them and feel good about them? I don't hate the Patriots because they're the Patriots. I hate them because they cheat. I don't really care whether they are part of the AFC or not. To me, they're not a team that should be praised. Yeah, not everyone does everything right, but it's easy. They've been caught multiple times, and they really need to pay the price. And for you guys to sit there and say it's so great for them to do that. How dare you guys? I like you guys a lot, but this is just one of those times where you take how fans see the Patriots and think it's only because we see them as rivals. No, I see them as a team that cheats. I see them as a team that shouldn't be where they're at. And now all those going to the 8 Super Bowls is, to me, is nothing, no great thing when you cheat and do the things you've done. You're caught for it and never really take the punishment for it. To me, it's tainted. Now, as far as our rivals, hell yeah, I want to see the Chargers and the Chiefs go down in flames. Absolutely. And for the Broncos, those buck-tooth GM they have, I hope they just go down in flames and not see them by a day for years. As far as the Steelers go, yeah, I hated them during the 70s. That's when I first started watching the Raiders and following them. 47 years old, and I'm proud to be a Raiders fan. Excuse me if I'm a little bit off. Just had a stroke on the 26th, and I'm trying to get through it. But you know what? It's one thing I have to say. Go Raiders! All right, I'm out.
All right, caller from the 556. First off, God bless you, and hope good health to you with your recovery from your stroke. You got support and love from us here at Raiders Fan Radio in your battle with that. And so keep calling the show, man. You did great. That was a great call. And so look, hey, our opinion is known. Me and Uncle Mosh and Sonny put it out there for the world to hear. So let's hear. We heard from that caller, and how about you, Jeff? What do you think? What do you think about the Patriots?
The bottom line with the Patriots, and I can't stand them. I hate them to death, and I think they're favored in a number of ways, by different people around the NFL. But you can't take away the fact that Tom Brady is an awesome Hall of Fame quarterback. You can't take that away from him. You can't take away Belichick being one of the greatest coaches of all time. But myself personally, I would never root for the Patriots just because I hate them that much. So it's a matter of opinion, the matter of the way you look at things, and the media is the media, and they're going to throw a lot of stuff out there. They're going to throw a lot of biased crap out there. Who really knows exactly what happened and when it happened and things like that? But the Patriots as a whole, man, they turned it on. You got to give them that. That's for sure. Am I glad they lost against the Eagles? Absolutely. I'm glad the Eagles just pounded the crap out of them. That was a wonderful thing to see. But Raider Nation is always going to have that craw, and anytime the Patriots make a mistake or they do something wrong, it's gonna come out big time with Raider Nation. Yeah, I like the way he wants everybody else to burn. I love that.
Yeah, right. I think that is the one thing that we can universally agree on, no matter what, is that when it comes to, and I was glad to hear him bring up those other teams, because I think that's where part of the position we were coming from with all this is that, look, all this hate seems somewhat misguided because there are so many other things to hate besides Tom Brady. Like, don't waste your hate on Tom Brady. Use it on Phillip Rivers. Like, use that. And so I was glad to hear him bring up those other teams and that vitriol for those teams, because that's really to me what it's all about too. But if you got room in your life to hate the Patriots too, then God bless you. Go for it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have some flags and some T-shirts on the website that have the little, guy, flipping off, and then he's taking a pee on the logos. So maybe I should add a Patriots one on there so people can buy that one too.
Hey, especially if we meet them in AFC Championship game this year, you'd sell 1 billion of those things, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, Jeff, we got one more to play here. It's actually a double voicemail. So he called into the show, left a family story, and then called with a follow-up. So I'm gonna play both of these voicemails. They're another made man here on Raiders Fan Radio. We're gonna hear from our buddy Emiliano. He calls himself Big Raider Trucker.
What's going on, Sonny and Murf, the man, the myth, the legend, Big Raider Trucker is checking in. All right, family stories. Let's break it down. Let's see. The Raiders are a big part of my life. I lost my father when I was 9, and I've always heard the expression from him, from the womb to the tomb, from the womb to the tomb. It's people don't realize we're not just fans. This is a family, something you're born into, not something you could just catch on. You guys know what I mean? Also, like I said, womb to the tomb, kept hearing that from my dad, womb to the tomb. I lost my dad when I was 9 years old, young something, and it stuck to me being a Raiders fan even after he passed away, because when he died, getting choked up. When he passed away, we had a all white casket with black suede interior, and there was a pinstripe Raider logo on there. Like you said, wounded the tomb. There's just something you can't just pick up. It's a family, something we're born into. Raiders have always been a big part of my life. Seeing the Raiders shield on my dad's casket as I laid him under, those are the most powerful images I've ever seen. And ever since then, I will be a Raider till I die. Wounded the tomb, like my father always said. Just want to share my little Raider story with you guys. All right. Keep up the good work, and I'll be checking in soon. Later.
What's going on, Sonny and Murf, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Big Raider Trucker here, rolling up I-5 North. Had to go drop this load off. I called earlier and I forgot to give you the backstory of, I didn't want to leave a depressing note after the story of my father passing away and putting a Raider symbol on his coffin. Mr. Big Raider Trucker was born and raised in Merced, California, moved down to Southern California where I reside now. My father's side is from Sacramento Bay Area, so hand in hand, that's where the Raider fandom comes from. But also, I forgot to tell you guys that my mom is a diehard Raider fan. It's a family organization, believe it or not. When I was over the road, my mom would go to the Inland Empire Raider Booster Club right there we have in Redlands, California. 400 or 500 Raider fans a week in the Raider room, and she would go there by herself. And it was one time me and her went, and I spoke to a gentleman. He goes, "Oh, that's cool that you bring your mom along. You bring your mom along with you." I told him, "No, sir." I said, "My mom brings me. My mom will go with or without me." But just to lead that in, guys, you know, it's a family thing. It's something you guys are born into. Obviously, you guys know that coming from your fathers. Like my dad said, from the womb to the tomb, I was born a Raider fan, and I'm going to die a Raider fan. And I just hope that sticks through a lot of people. That's pretty much my story. But yeah, I wanted to give you the whole backside of where Mr. Big Raider Trucker got his fandom from, my father and my mother. All right, guys. Well, keep up the good work. And until next time, guys, have a good one.
There he is, Big Raider Trucker with some fabulous Raiders family stories there, going with the 1-2, right? He had his influence of his mother and then influence of his father. And, you know, Jeff, I'm looking at a picture, one of my all-time favorite pictures. It's Sonny's dad and my dad together in the end zone at the Oakland Coliseum from 2011. It was the last time that our dads went to a game together. It was the first game Sonny and I went to together. And we went with our dads, and it was, we decided that we were going to do an annual Raider trip back then. You know, of course, we'd growing up, obviously Raider fans, but living in two different parts of the country. Sonny and I made a conscious decision that we were going to get together somewhere and watch the Raiders play every year, whether that was on the road or that was at home in Oakland. And the first one that we did was with our dads, and that was in Oakland against the Jets, and saw a great game when the Raiders won. But my point is, though, is that looking at that picture and those two guys who passed away not long after that game and who were the ones that formed our Raider fandom, and like Big Raider Trucker says, you're born into this stuff. And so, it's one of the reasons why, like you talked about earlier, just because the team's moving to Vegas doesn't mean I'm going to stop being a Raider fan. It's almost like it's I don't want to over dramatize it, but it's like a family legacy. Like you know what I mean? Like, it can't just stop. I'm not just going to turn it off and go root for another team. That's not going to happen. And so, that I think that is, I know that a lot of teams are like that, but and I'm sure there's Packer fans out there that would say but there's something unique about Raider Nation in that, is that it really is, you just hear the term family, you hear the legacies of fandom more frequently with our fan base than you do others. Again, I might be wrong and I might be biased, but it just seems to me that way, of being a fan in general of things. I just see that permeate Raider Nation quite a bit. So great stories both there, from not only about his dad but about his mom as well, and her passion. I think the Raiderettes of Raider Nation often get overlooked in their dedication to the fandom. We see some great stuff on social media. I know you do as as well. In fact, I just saw you were working with one of the Raiderettes here just not long ago with doing a promotion there. So anyways, just really, really cool stuff. Great stories from Emiliano there from Big Raider Trucker. Thank you for calling in. Raider Nation, keep the stories coming. You can call us anytime at 909-345-3346 and leave your family story. We have a few others still that we're going to play coming up. We want to feature at least one per show. So keep those things coming in. But what do you think, Jeff? Tell us your reaction to Emiliano's voicemails there.
Well, he's 100% right. And, it's tough losing your dad at 9. I wouldn't have any idea how that would feel, and God bless him for, continuing on and doing what he's doing. But, in the business that I'm in, I get to talk to a lot of Raider fans all over the country. And I also talk to other fans because, believe it or not, I have a lot of, Denver fans and Green Bay Packer fans and Tampa Bay fans call me and ask me to do stuff for them, and I do. But it seems that and you are correct, is that this is a little bit different than anything else. It is more of a family. Because, we travel quite a bit, and wherever I go, whatever I'm doing, I run into a Raider fan, and there's nothing like walking through a mall and, someplace in the United States and hearing, Raiders! And then your best friends. You don't know this guy from Adam. If you walk up to him and you're best buddies, it's not like that with the other teams. It's us. There's something special that being a Raider fan just gets in your blood, and it stays there for your entire life. Yeah, there's some of the Raider fans that drop the ball and they say, well, I'm running away. They burn their jerseys. Well, good riddance. But it is a family. It is something that you go from generations. And the thing with the casket, at Pirate Sports, we've done urns. People call and say, hey, can you have an urn made? And we've made urns for family members. And they want that to sit on their mantle, remember their family, and have the Raiders stuff with them while they're, mourning throughout the years of being able to look at a nice urn. And it's just really cool because what he says, from the womb to the tomb, is 100% correct. And that's just part of who you are. And you live your life, from the mottos from Al Davis. You live around a commitment to excellence. You live around, poise and pride. And just win, and that's the big difference. Because if you take a look at other teams, most of them don't have that. And usually, when it's the off season, they put their stuff in a box and wait till football season starts again. Not Raider fans, man. We're geared up every day, and when
we're wearing our caftans in March, Jeff.
You bet your butt you are. You're going to wear those caftans. I want to see that. I bet you dollars and donuts. Everybody listen to Boy Voice right now. You guys need to tell Sonny and Murf we need pictures in those caftans. We want to see them, and I'm going to put them to all 35,000 of my followers on social media.
Oh, boy.
And we're putting Sonny and Murf in their caftans, man.
Oh, man.
I want to see it. But, yeah, the guy's he's 100% right, man. It's swim to the tomb. And no matter how bad we are, no matter how good we are, we're going to be loyal. And then he's right. It's family. And, the Raiderettes, I work really close with one of the most wonderful people in the whole entire world. Her name is Cynthia I.E. She's out of Vegas. And this girl, I don't even know how to explain her, but she does so much charity work and helps with the communities, all over between Las Vegas and California. And she was just up in Phoenix feeding the homeless. So you talk about Raiderettes. She's probably one of the most special Raiderettes, and if you need to look her up. Her name's Cynthia I.E., and then she is just a beautiful, wonderful person. But yeah, bloom to the tomb and living your life the Raider way is, I think, with most of us, just burning our heart. Actually, when I had my heart attack, the doctor took an image of my heart, and he saw the Raider shield burnt in there. So
he said, "Hey, this one's silver and black,"
Yeah, he said your blood's supposed to be red, but it's a different color right now. But yeah, he's awesome. 100% right.
Good deal.
It's family.
Good deal. Well, Jeff, before we let you go, just want to thank you again for riding shotgun here for this episode of Raiders Fan Radio. We're definitely going to get you back on again, and we appreciate all the support from not only you, of course, but Dead Pirate Sports. You help us out a lot here on Raiders Fan Radio, and we appreciate the support and the love and the all that cross promotion and all that good stuff. So we thank you for that. We thank you for your friendship. And before we let you go, is there anything else we want to cover? The website or any of the Captain Darkside promotions or anything?
Yes, actually, Dead Pirate Sports is growing very quickly, and I am actually going to start franchising Dead Pirate Sports. I have my first franchise. It's in Oklahoma. It includes everything you could possibly think of to start your own Dead Pirate Sports in your state. You have 100% support from the company as a whole, and we expand into doing stuff into the colleges and other teams throughout the United States. And so that's one thing that we are working right now is expanding the business. We want to take over the country. We want this whole thing. I mean, if you look at a map from space, you want to see the Pirate Sports logo on the damn map. We are going to work on franchising, so if you're interested in a franchise, get a hold of us, and we'll work out the details on that. But just go to the website, deadpiresports.com, and take a look through everything. I'm always adding more, taking away stuff that is going out of style. And start of the season, we should have over 1,000 items up on the site. And as it sits right now, we have become the largest Raider-specific site on the internet. That's not a bad deal, and I'll be doing some more promotions and giveaways as we go through the off season here. So stay tuned.
Man, that's awesome stuff. Y'all check it out, deadpiresports.com. It's authentic Raider gear. It's awesome. They're great people. Also, don't forget you can use promo code RFR10 at checkout. That's RFR10 at checkout and receive an additional 10% off of your entire order. Definitely support what they're doing. And these are Raider fans. Jeff, obviously, you could tell by hearing him on the show, he's a Raider fan. And so support your fellow Raider fan and of course, our team, the Oakland Raiders, by going to deadpiresports.com. So thank you again, Jeff, for joining us here on Raiders Fan Radio, my friend. We will talk again soon, and go Raiders.
Thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy.
Love you, Raider Nation.
All right, Raider Nation, there he was, Jeff Haskins from deadpiresports.com. Once again, go check out the website. But before I let you go, we're going to move on to one last thing. We do have, it's not an internet black hole, but I do have something close.
We are Metallica, and we are here for your Oakland Raiders!
You know why we out here, and we ain't playing around today.
From The Walking Dead to errant Jedi Knights, Raiders fans are a rogues gallery.
All right, Raider Nation, last thing we have for you this week is I want to give a shout out to a listener, Paul. I'm going to mess up his last name. Great Italian name too. Lagrotiera, I believe you pronounce it. So listener Paul Lagrotiera reached out to me last week and asked about some audio from Greg Papa on his show on 95.7 The Game. He calls it, it's the Afternoon Delight. It's him and Bonte Hill, and they, obviously talk a lot about the Raiders. And back in early January, right before the Gruden announcement actually came out, there was a show where he went and revisited a lot of the stories that happened when Gruden was with the Raiders the first time, that led right up to the point where he was traded by Al Davis. And so Paul reached out, asked if we had this audio. We put the Raiders Fan Radio I-team on it, and we were able to dig up the audio. So I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's a 3-hour show. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I do have about 12 minutes of this thing that I've cut together that I do want to play. And the reason we're going to play something that lengthy is that it's fascinating for anybody that, like me, that is really enjoyed like the stories that come out of the book Al Davis behind the Raiders shield, by friend of the show Steve Corcoran. Anybody that likes that behind the scenes type stuff and to get the truth about what happens, then the stories that Papa tells about Gruden and about Al Davis, like I said, they're fascinating. It's an amazing listen. I don't think we'll get in trouble by playing someone's radio show, so hopefully not. But anyways, but shout out to Paul. We were able to find this audio, and then we're going to play some of it for you here on Raiders Fan Radio. Once again, this is from 95.7 The Game, from the afternoon show called The Afternoon Delight. I believe this was from about January 3rd or 4th.
I've talked to John off and on for years. So here's the bottom line here. I'm going to tell you everything about John Gruden, Bonte. I'm going to unload here, and I'm just going to give you the whole deal on the whole story of John Gruden with the Raiders, with Al Davis, with Mark Davis, with everybody, how it started, how it ended, where it is, where it was in the middle, and where it's going to head. So basically where this thing went sideways with John the first time was when they lost the AFC Championship game in 2000 to the Baltimore Ravens. And the Raiders, Rich got hurt early in that game. They scored 3 points. And John, and again, I was kidding John in Mexico City last year about he's older. I think it's a big issue, honestly. He was in his 30s then, now he's in his 50s. You know, the 20-year anniversary of Al and Bruce Allen hiring him is coming up here in a few days. Maybe they can coincide it and have it on the actual 20th anniversary when they bring him back. But when they lost to Baltimore, John brought one of his youngs, I think it may be Deuce, the young guy that's now a bodybuilder.
Yeah, Washington with Jay Gruden.
He brought him in, and Al was not in a good mood. And he didn't want the kids around, and Al's language is a little spicy, as is John. And it went sideways right there. And then the next year started, and John's agent, Bob Lamont, he's also the agent for Jack Del Rio, he's John's agent now, got into it with Al about a contract extension. But I really think Al had decided after that AFC title game that John's offense couldn't work and they couldn't score and he was going to move on. But that next year, 2001, they got off to an 8-2 start. And I remember this so well. It was I believe it was the weekend after Thanksgiving. It was December the 2nd. I'm looking at the schedule here. They were 8-2. And they were going to play a home game against the Arizona Cardinals. And there was all kind of rumors then, Bonte. Notre Dame had changed head coaches. And, John grew up everywhere. His dad was on the staff, and he loves Notre Dame. He loves Tampa. He loves the 49ers. He loves Philly. He loves the Raiders. At that time, John's kind of like the Bushes, where he grew up everywhere. Jesus, right. Where is your hometown? You got like 50 of them. But the whole thing with Notre Dame was real. And John was approached by Notre Dame that week. Gene Corrigan was the AD that week. He flew out and met with John. Very few people know anything about this. And John was going to take the job. And he was going to bring Jay on his staff. His dad, Jim, was going to be on the staff. He had a huge purse for all the coaches. They were all coming. The one thing was Gene Corrigan wanted John to quit the Raiders right in the middle of that 2001 season and go coach Notre Dame for recruiting. And he can't.
No, you
quit
can't
the team in the middle of the year?
Yeah, you can't do that.
Can't do that. So he didn't do that. So John said no. And I remember being in his office on the Sunday morning of the Arizona game, and John laid this all out to me for a long time, told me the whole story. But the bottom line was he was leaving. He was already in his mind starting to leave. So I leave his office, and he tells me this whole story, how if Gene Corrigan just would have been more patient, John would have left and been the next head coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I go on the field for the pregame, and Al Davis waves me over. And the story had just broken minutes before that George O'Leary, who I know from Syracuse, Al knows from Syracuse, he was the head coach for Notre Dame for like an hour, but they found out he lied on his resume about his resume.
Yep, fraudulent resume. I remember that.
So anyway, Al calls me over, and he thinks that O'Leary took the Notre Dame job, and John, so he says, you think anybody would F and leave the Raiders for Notre Dame? And I'm like, no, Al, no one would leave the Raiders for Notre Dame. That's crazy. But you know what? The Raiders lost that game. They were 8-2.
Yeah.
David Dunn fumbled a punt. John said, David, you're done. I think he cut him right off the field. And they won a couple of more games. They lost to Tennessee. They lost to Denver. They lost to the Jets at the end of the year in a long kick by John Hall. They wound up having to play the Tuck U game in New England and not home. The whole thing unraveled. So they wind up losing the Tuck U game. Al sets a ridiculous price that he never thought anybody in their right mind would would say yes to. The Glazers asked him right after in January when they made the coaching change with Tony Dungy, would you trade John Gruden? And 2 1s, 2 2s, and $8 million. And he hangs up and thinking, they're never, who the hell would ever give that up? Well, a month later, they did it. They said, yes, we'll give you 2 1s, 2 2s, and $8 million. And Al trades him. And it was a mistake. I remember going on the air when they made the trade. It was President's Day. It was February the 21st. I mean, I wasn't supposed to work that day. It was the last day I worked at the other station doing a talk radio show. My contract expired, and it was for the year to the day, and I was gone. I wasn't going to do it anymore. And the last show, I ripped Al and he was mad at me. We didn't talk for months. But I didn't care what he was getting back. And 2 1s, 2 2s, and $8 million? Who's going to do that? But you can't trade the head coach. And he was more than that. John flipped the whole franchise, there's no doubt. When he took over from Joe Bugle, what he did in 98, 99, and then to the title game in 2000. I remember vividly being on the practice field one day when John was at the height of his popularity. There was a billboard sign of John that Al didn't want up. And John was, meeting the media after practice, and there were dozens. It's not like today where there's hundreds, but there were a lot of people there, Bonte, off the practice field. Right. And Al, when he would go to practice and walk off the practice field, he'd kind of give the media a look like, yes, you can approach me, or stay the hell away from me. And he was kind of giving him nothing, but they weren't coming to him. They were ignoring him because they were in the middle of John Gruden's press conference. So they had, dozens around him. And Al, and with all the media there, yelled out to me, Greg, make sure they effing know who runs this team. And I just laughed and said, Al, everybody knows who runs this team.
Right.
Well, just make sure they effing know for everybody to hear. So that's what we were up against, was the tremendous ego of Al Davis and John Gruden, who at that point wasn't going to take crap from anybody. So the trade was consummated. He winds up going to Tampa Bay, and the irony of ironies, he winds up beating the Raiders in the Super Bowl, and I think that's what sent Al. His health was beginning to deteriorate then, but I think at that point, Bonte, he really just it just got so bad, and the disease was going to eat him away muscle by muscle and his muscle mass by little bit. But that really was a hard way to look at it all, was that John did beat him in San Diego and won that Super Bowl. But I am here to tell you, and I've told this story, and I sounded like saintly there for a minute. Let me share something with you, Bonte.
I'm sitting here like a kid. I'm just taking in all these notes, Pop.
I've told all these stories over the years. I've told them all in bits and pieces. But now that it looks like John is coming back. And what did he tell Jerry McDonald? I hope to be a candidate.
I hope to be a candidate. And how's Jerry McDonald? That's my guy, man. He's getting all these exclusives. He's calling him at dinner with his wife on Saturday. I mean, he's calling him today. This is just blowing me away, because you alluded to this a month ago, Pop. We had Mark Dominic on. Remember the former personnel guy with the Tampa Bay Bucks? And you all of a sudden started talking about Gruden. And I remember when you broke the Marshawn stuff, it wasn't quite like that. No, but it just made me started thinking. I'm like, does Pop know something about Gruden?
Well, no, honestly,
really
yes. I've always felt John would coach again. And I told you, I thought it was when his youngest son graduated high school, but I got the sons wrong. I thought Deuce was the last one, and I see him on the sidelines of Washington, and I'm like, why isn't John coaching now? What's the timeline here? But so now we fast forward, as I just want to tell you one more story about John Gruden, and we'll have all week. This is not going to happen until next week. There's still some things they have to work out, obviously, but I just want to tell you about a story. And I've told all these stories in bits and pieces, but just to tell it all, one big chunk here, before this does happen and John does return. In 2009, Mike Tirico and John are working together at ESPN, and they invite me and a lot of Raider people. And I bring my son Derek, who's working with us now, and my buddy Michael Burns. We bring all kinds of, I think my other son was there. We went to Ricky's, and it was going to be a Mike Tirico birthday party, but it was John Gruden coming back to Oakland. He was actually going to work the 49er game on the ensuing Monday night against Arizona. Remember the game when Kurt Warner got lit up to Sean Goldson?
Yeah.
That great game. He had a candlestick. Absolutely. I took Derek and Nicholas. We all went to the game. So he was in for that game, but the Raiders were playing the game the next day against Washington. This was December the 13th of 2009. So we all go to Ricky's. And, John's in his element now. He's back with the Raider Nation. Ricky Ricardo's there. And there's a who's who. Everybody's there. Jim Otto, Willie Brown, Tom Flores, Phil Filippiano, Jack Tatum. Everybody. Everybody who's an ex-Raider is there, and I'm there. And, John's had quite a bit to drink that night, and he's in my ear. You got to go to the old man and tell him I want to come back. And I'm like, at that time, I thought Al's never going to bring John Gruden back. So I said, do you really want? And John was, he's drinking and he's telling stories and he's going on and on. But I just listening to him and the gleam in his eye, I always felt like he did want to come back here. He did. I felt like it was to him unfinished business. Although the guy you're going to get now in his mid-50s is not the same John Gruden in his mid-30s, and that does worry me about connecting with the modern athlete and the way he handles players. This is not Rich Gannon. This is Derek Carr. This is a whole different dude. But in any event, so after that year, first of all, like a couple days later, Al calls me, and he is just royally pissed because I'm in photographs with John and Ricky's. The Ricky people put it on the website. I saw that photo, Pop. But they were all there. Right. Jim Otto's there. Willie Brown's there. Tom Flores is there. Fred Bellitti. What are you getting mad at me for?
So Al called you and he was pissed off about that photo?
No, he was genuinely hurt.
Oh.
It wasn't mad. He was, I thought you were loyal. That's what he said. He was like, hey, Al, can't I like John and like you? And he was genuinely hurt that the whole thing happened, I think. And then the next day, Brian Arakpo sacked Jamarcus Russell like Avogadro's number. Like, I don't know, it just kept happening. Like, Jesus. Pouring rain. It was dank and awful. And so we were talking about sneaking John into the game, and I won't know you're here, and the whole deal. So anyway, the reason I'm telling the story is later that off season, Al calls me months later, and he says, guess who called me? Twice. Twice. Al would never pick up the phone for you if he didn't know you were calling. And sometimes he'd make a call a second time, especially when it was John Gruden. And I said, no. But I'd go back to this conversation when John had a few too many beers at Ricky's. And I said, what did he say? He wants to come back. And I said, you're never going to let him back? He said, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
Wow.
And then he hung up. So he wanted me to know that. He wound up making a colossal error. And he hired Lance Kiffin, who, that was actually, Tom Cable.
That was Tom Cable.
Kiffin was before that. Yeah, it was after the 09 when Tom Cable. He kept Tom Cable. It wasn't the right time. But then in any event, I know Mark reached out to him a couple of different times in 2012 and then in 2014 as well. And the timing just wasn't right for a lot of reasons. John, I think with his kids and his family situation. But I think now, and it's happening a year or two earlier than I thought it was going to happen. I thought it would happen. And we talked about it a couple of shows, many shows. Right. When I talked about it in December, I always thought John would coach. I didn't know exactly where. I knew he had an affinity for this place. I didn't know how it would work out. But I do feel as though there's a great momentum here, obviously. They got a lot to work out here.
All right, there you go. And then he continues on and gets into the contract details and whatnot and more of the modern day news of John Gruden, which it's not hard to find. So I'm going to save playing all of that. But I did want to, again, cover all of those stories that Papa had to tell. And again, it's just fascinating to hear him talk about the mindset of Al Davis, the mindset of John Gruden, and the sentiment. It's almost like, it's kind of funny. You know how like if you have like an ex and like, you break up, but you're still in love and the ex is still in love with you, but yet, you just kind of like you're talking through friends. And that's what this reminded me of. It's like John still wanted to be a Raider. He wanted to come back and be a Raider. Al wanted him, but because of their egos, or pride or whatever else, they never quite met in the middle. And sadly, it took, Al's passing and the circumstances of Monday Night Football for John to move on and for them to eventually become reunited with the Raiders. But the good news about all of this is that the Raiders never left Gruden. He wasn't pining for the Buccaneers. He was pining for the Raiders. And so the Raiders never left him. And I think that when you look at the conglomeration of the entirety of the surroundings nowadays with our Raiders, with the work ethic that's getting ready to be brought to the team, with the accountability that's going to be brought to the team, with the talent and personnel that we have, the quality of leadership, Raider Nation, I think we got a lot to look forward to. And, we're always, pie in the sky. We always look at the future as being bright. I think we're pretty good at that as a fan base. But there's a lot extra going on now. There's a lot of extra excitement around it, and I think that it's well-founded. This isn't our excitement and our Our faith isn't in unproven prospects. It isn't in unproven goals or coaches. It's things that have happened. These are people that are fully capable of executing in the league and generating a lot of wins. And so I think we have a lot of good things to look forward to. So hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Thanks again to Paul Lagrotiera for the request there on the audio, and glad to play it. And so also thanks to our good friend of the show, Jeff Haskins, proprietor there at deadpiratesport.com. Please check out deadpiratesport.com. Support what Jeff's doing. And thank you, Jeff, for joining us here on the show. Oh, also, if you go to if you go to deadpiratesport.com, use promo code RFR10 and you'll receive 10% off of your order. That's promo code RFR10. Anyways, hit us up, Raider Nation. You can hit me up anytime, Murf at RaidersFanRadio.com. You can find our show at RaidersFanRadio.com on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. You can pretty much Google Raiders Fan Radio and find us anywhere and everywhere that exists as far as social media goes. Check out our podcast. Is on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. Sonny's recently got us hooked up with Spotify. We are on iHeartRadio. Anywhere you want to find a podcast, you can find us. You can even find us on YouTube. So thank you for supporting the show. Please like and subscribe to us on whatever service that you're on. Thanks to you that are listening. Thanks to you for your continued support of Raiders Fan Radio. I hope you like we're kind of going through a little bit of an iteration of the show here. Going to go through a few changes, but we'll get Sonny back in as soon as he's available. And in the meantime, hope you stick with us and hope you like what we're going to put together for you. We do have, again, got some exciting guests and things coming along, so the show's gonna continue on strong. So thanks again to everyone for listening in, and Raider Nation, it's wherever, forever.
Wound to the tomb, like my father always said.